up, guys? It's Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, bringing you the 2020 Maxima and 2020 Altima for our comparison here in Nissan of Brandon. Then we got the Platinum Edition of this Maxima, 19-inch alloys. You got the dual panel for your sunroof in this one. All specs and features, all safety features, and we're going to dive in to show you some more. In the Maxima, you got the diamond stitched contrast stitching. You're going to see it more towards the door panels and more on the dash than you would actually on the seats, because it's a cashmere seat insert. You got your leather wrapped steering wheel. It's more derived for like a racing type steering wheel. No paddle shifters on this one. You have to use the gear shift. You just switch it over on left. E-Tektronic, so you change up and down. You have your push start. You have this polished aluminum look inside, and then you got this polished wood look on the door panels. Your infotainment screen comes standard with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This particular model has navigation. You get the C port and the USB port, the same as you'll get in the Altima. And you also get the dual sunroof in the Maxima if you get the Platinum Edition. The Nissans, you also get this really cool tray which could hold up to 44 pounds. Storage space in the trunk, you can fit anything. This Altima features the gunmetallic gray. This is the SR 19-inch alloys, two-tone. If you're going to the Maxima, you can see the difference in the grille compared to the Altima. This one you have like a brush kind of black polish in it. It's a little bit more of a luxury style grille, whereas this one is a little bit more of a functional sport grille. You can also see in the front, the lights are relatively the same. You do get this cool like C that's in the Maxima compared to that one. You do get LED front, daylight, and rear, where you're not going to get all that in the Altima. In the Altima, you're still going to get upgraded stereo system. It's not going to be as many speakers. You're going to get a 6-speaker compared to the Maxima, where you'll get an 8-speaker. Both are going to have your infotainment system, which is touchscreen. Difference, which we will show you as we go through it, is one kind of stands out like a tablet and one's more flush into the dash. Both will have the contrast stitching. This particular design inside for the interior is the only spec you could get for the SR version. So you're going to get a contrast red. It's a two-tone, so it's kind of like a leather type texture that's on the outside, and then on the inside it's a cloth. And then on your steering wheel you get that black polish. You're going to have your adaptive cruise control. Your paddle shifters are on the steering wheel. You do not have any e-tronics on this. So when you put it in drive, you have to push a button, which we'll show you on the drive. Rear seat amenities are relatively the same. You still get the C port and the USB. The seats are kind of more like a 45-degree angle backwards, so you kind of sit. You'll sit stationed, but you're going to be more of a little bit of a recline. You do have a pretty sufficient amount of leg room, and headroom isn't too bad. If you're over 6 foot tall, you may hit some of the roof liner. Cargo space for the Altima is relatively the same as the Maxima. In this 3.5 liter V6, 300 horsepower, 261 pounds of torque, this is the Maxima engine. Now the main difference between the Maxima and the Altima, you no longer get a V6. So they came out with the VC Turbo, which this is a 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder. So pretty much this is like your in-between a 4 and 6. You're going to get the great gas economy and efficiency as a 4-cylinder, but it's going to feel like a V6, or you just jump into a V6 Maxima. In the Maxima, here's your steering wheel. Your information here is basically for your odometer, and this is your cruise control settings and your phone end or make a call. Also your volume for your infotainment system. Your infotainment system is really cool. It has this nice black polish. You do have a CD player. We have it on maps right now. You click into the menu, and you know you could use scroll gestures, or you could just simply touch the buttons, and you can pretty much see everything. This is for your navigation, and if you click into it, this is also through XM, so you get 3 months usually free when you buy Nissan. If you want Apple CarPlay, you just simply plug it into the USB, which would be the second port, because the first port is a C Connect now, which is new that they have introduced in the 2020 models, and then just unlock your phone and there's your navigation information. Also, you do have a roll knob, so you can roll. You don't have to use the actual infotainment screen. You can just use that while you're just sitting. Here's your sports button, your traction control off, your back, your home, your voice. It is voice command, your push to start. Here was what we were talking about on the, there's no paddle shifters on the Maxima, so you put it into drive, slide it over, and you just simply push forward or backwards to change your gears. That's the only way you can do basically a manual mode in this particular model. Now you do have the 360 camera, which you can see, and then if you click back into the menu, you can just scroll. You can also customize your home menu, so you can put whatever wedges you like or any shortcuts, and just click onto them like that. With the Maxima, you do not get any buttons to roll or anything. You just basically use the touch screen or any of the buttons here underneath the infotainment system. This one does not have navigation, so you have to use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This side here controls your odometer, and this side here is your cruise control to make and end calls. So if we go over here on this side, you just kind of can slide through here and see some of the features that you have. It does have different settings that you can change in the vehicle. Relatively a standard type of odometer until you basically put it into Apple CarPlay Android Auto, which you just simply plug it in. And with it plugged in, you should be able to see your navigation now through your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is plugged in next to the C Connect port or USB port, whichever you have. Otherwise, if you're trying to go into sports mode, you just simply hit this. So to give you an idea, I'm going to put it in drive. You see it says D. We push the button, it has an S. Now you can just change the gears. You just change it like that. If you want to go back into drive, push that S button, and that just puts it back into drive. With the rear of the Maxima, you're going to get the quad look and chrome tip exhaust. However, it's a dual exhaust. The exhausts are back here. So the tips, it's an aesthetic look, but it's a thing that we're doing on all the models nowadays to emphasize the exhaust pipes. Whereas on the Altima, you actually have exhaust pipes. You got the diffuser, you got the spoiler lip. It's just more racy look. So we're in this 2020 Nissan Maxima, fully loaded. Gonna give it a little gas, see how it does. The CVT transmission. And the beautiful thing is it is a flawless transmission because it's instant like that. You don't really feel lag. Torque wise, you don't feel it so much. It's at 267 pounds of torque with 300 horsepower. But it feels very luxurious. This one does have the upgraded suspension, so it's sports suspension. And I mean, gunning it at any time, like, the only fear I would have is I don't know how fast I'm going. The model inside is very smooth. I would say it's more derived for luxury than sport, but you have the sports capabilities, which is something Nissan really does a good job on, whether it's a Nissan or Infiniti brand. Mimics the Infinitis heavily, so if you're looking for like a good bang for your buck, definitely a way to go. It does get a little bit noisy in the cockpit. You do still have the dual pane windscreen and passenger and driver windows, tempered glass in the back, so it is pretty quiet for the majority of the ride. You do hear some wind noise kind of through the wheel wells. You will hear and feel a little bit, but it's not going to be boaty like an air suspension. You do have all the safety features, all capabilities in the vehicle, so if you're running a little bit off, it will kind of adjust and hit the brake on the opposite side to keep you in the lane. You do have front collision and rear collision also. It does have a intelligent cruise control in this vehicle. So now we've taken it off of sport mode so you can see the more luxury side. We've put it on the intelligent cruise, which you just basically push the button here and you set it, which will also show more in depth when we're doing the walk around. And then you can also set the distance or the proximity from behind, or how close you want to be to the vehicle. So you also have the blind spots, which I always talk about on when I do the Infinities. They're inside, which makes it so much easier because you don't have to look at the side view mirror. So when someone's coming pretty much like, I would say, right towards the back of your ear, you'll see the light up on whichever side the vehicle is. So that's a really cool feature, and I think Nissan does a great job with that, because as you see a car's passing me, I already have the notation on the side with the light. Now what we're going to try to do is set the cruise control so you can see how it brakes for you. I'm letting off, there's nothing. I'm letting the car do everything at its will at this point. And as you're seeing in the video, it's watching the road. I'm going extremely slow because of the car in front of me. I'm gonna lower the proximity so I can get a little closer to the car so you can see that gear go up. So now we're in the 2020 Altima. As this comparison goes on, major things that I noticed right off the top: you have like a black piano polish on the steering wheel. It is the same steering wheel, it's a little bit more sleek, more sporty looking. You do have that contrast stitching in red, which is nice as well, and paddle shifters on the steering wheel, whereas on the Maxima you don't have paddle shifters. A little bit different than some of your other vehicles when it goes into sports mode. It doesn't necessarily have like a sports mode, but it kind of sort of does. You push it on the gear knob here, and then you would just change it on the paddle shifters. You do put it in the manual mode where you're using the paddle shifters. It does feel a little bit more sporty, not really agile. Now I have it off of the paddle shifting, and not really a huge difference in that. Again, it's more of you just changing the gear of when you want to. If you don't change the gear after so many seconds, typically it'll go back into like an automatic mode. If not, then you just simply press the same button that's on the gear here, and it will turn it into the S, or it'll turn it into drive. The S though does shoot your RPM, so it is pretty much derived for a sport mode. Now we're taking it on the interstate, see how the handling is. The zero gravity seats feel really good, which is only on the Maxima. They got this technology from NASA, so that way it puts less strain on your seating position. You basically feel like nothing because it's zero gravity, so you don't have any actual areas that start aching or whatnot. And pickup was really well, as you saw when I just came off the off-ramp. Handling wise, it does feel a little, not agile, but it feels like it could slip. Again, that could be because of the wheels. They're not necessarily racing wheels, so obviously for cornering perspectives, you're not going to get optimal, cornering. However, it did really well, no tire spin. This is the sports suspension, four-wheel independent suspension. The front is the struts, and the back are multi-link. With the variable compression turbo, you get nearly 30 miles on all the boards. You get roughly around 29 miles city. Highway, you're gonna get like 34, 35. So this is almost mimicking like a V6 and a 4-cylinder. So another key feature with this comparison between the two, the Maxima is going to be more of a luxury / sport, whereas the Altima will be more of a sport. You still get luxury, but it's going to be heavily more in sport. A lot more road noise in the wheel wells. Still get the dual pane windows in the front, again tempered in the back. So no difference in that, except where it is a smaller car. The wind noise, you do hear it a lot more, and you do feel the bumps as you're driving it. The seats though are very forgiving because of the zero gravity technology that is derived from NASA directly. So now we're gonna do our little famous stuff here, stop in the middle and give it the 0 to 60. And you do get the tire spin. This is not in sports mode, but very quick. Switch it to paddle, give it a little gas. Again, the torque, you can see I'm moving fine. Suspension is holding up really well in this. I mean, it's a really good suspension. Like And I mean, you get that soundtrack, so you hear the exhaust. And I'd like to thank Jonathan and Rick for giving us this Maxima and Altima for our car review for the week. Don't forget to subscribe for more. Click in the description so you get all the updates we do here at Hawkeye Rides.